Good morning. Anyway, my name is Bill Ferebee. I'm the supervisor for the town of Keene. My good friend and colleague, Supervisor Town of Jay and Essex County Board of Supervisors Chairman Randy Douglas. As we've been asked to speak about this event, I've chosen always to go first because the water got to me first, you know. And I didn't call him and tell him what was coming. So, you know, that's what friends are for. Amanda has touched on a number of the things that I kind of wrote down as I was asked to talk about what I would do 5 years from now. My first answer to Carol was I'd get on a plane and get the hell out of here as fast as I could, but she didn't want that answer. You know, really, we all, I think, as we sit in our offices, have some type of a master plan for disasters of what we're going to follow. But I think as what we experienced on August 28th, we need to look at that plan again. We need to look at what we experienced as far as you know, Randy's infrastructure or my food pantry or my fire department, you know, things of that sort that we never looked at it being in harm's way before. So as towns move forward, you know, to look at the relocation of their fire departments, the food pantries, get them on higher grounds. For example, the town of Keene and the Hamilton Keene Valley, they were separated by the river. We have one food pantry. It was in Keene. Keene Valley was separated then when Route 73 was washed out, so they could get nowhere, you know, for assistance. They couldn't go, you know, south. They couldn't go north. So, you know, I think looking at the future of reestablishing 2 locations for these services, or working with our school in Keene Valley, because we had no place of harbor in Keene Valley. We had no place to send the people that were displaced. You know, we want to look at you know, a really good and up-to-date phone tree, you know, to address the folks that live immediately along the rivers first, and then move outward to get these people notified, get them out of harm's way, and for everyone to be involved. You know, I sat at my desk. I've been there 7 years, never experienced anything like this. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out, okay, who do I call? I'm going down the road in my mind, but to really have those people on an established list, you know, have the highway department involved, have the school involved, have the fire departments involved. All of these things need to be a joint effort as to where to go should these things happen. I mean, should I not have been able to get to my desk? You know, who's the next guy in line to try to handle these calls and these situations? So one thing that we had Tara or Amanda mentioned about wells. You know, our well caps in the Keene Water District were overflowed by water from the river. So, you know, we've now extended those well caps. We've gotten them above, 2 feet above that level of where it was before. Moving forward to, you know, the knee-jerk reaction is just to replace culverts, replace bridges, fix roads, or repair roads as we've done in the years. I think education and the way technology has moved forward, that our highway departments should be aware of the new ways of repairing these things. You know, get them open like we always did, but then go back as we move forward, and, you know, where funding would allow, you know, to make these culverts larger. You know, redesign the bridges, try to eliminate the fact of, you know, debris clogging the bridges and things like that. But with that, I think the state and federal agencies need to step up and assist our small towns with these projects. You know, it's not something we can put on the back of our taxpayer, even though it is to protect them. As you all know, with our 2% cap, you know, if we allocate more money for, you know, bridges and culverts, we've got to take it away from something else. So that's where our governments need to step up. So that's not all I had written down to say, but I'll let our chairman say a little bit.
And don't forget to say click or whatever to hit the slide.
Yeah. Do you want us to click it, or do you have it there? No, go right ahead.
Yeah, because I can't multitask. That's one of my favorite pictures. Not because the governor's in it, because I am. And that is a part of our Keene Fire Department. That is the refrigerator out of the fire department that washed down. I don't know, that was a couple hundred yards away from the fire department.
Before we go further with some slides, I'll just tell you a little bit about our day, the day before, and where we went from the day before Irene hit. Bill and I were out to dinner with our wives and another colleague on the Board of Supervisors, and we were at the Wilderness in Wilmington, and people were telling us we were overreacting because we were talking about getting together the next morning to plan. And we did, and we had a plan in place. We've had so many disasters in the town of Jay, since I've been there. I've been there 9 years. We've had 9 states of emergency, so we're kind of used to it. So we have a comprehensive plan in place. But with that said, nobody could be prepared for what hit us the next day. Bill and I, the next morning, we met with our people, our emergency services. We have a disaster preparedness team in the town of Jay that works with Essex County Emergency Services. We had a plan in place, but little did we know that, 6 hours later that we were going to be so inundated with what was hitting us. I was in Lewis picking up a generator with my highway superintendent, Chris Garrell, just to be prepared for our shelter. On the way, when we were in Lewis, the National Weather Service had called Don Jaquish and said, do you know the supervisors in the town of Blackbrook in Clinton County and the supervisor in the town of Jay? And Don says, well, one of them's sitting here, or standing here with me right now, about to head back to his town. He said, tell him to sit down because I've got some real disturbing news for him. His town is going to be hit harder than ever in history that we have on records. So Chris and I take off, and I got all this going on in my mind. We had a hard time getting back. It took us 3 hours to get from Lewis to the town of Jay, which usually takes about a half hour. Trees down, power lines down, and all this is going through my mind. Calling in my staff. I have Susan here as clerk to me in my office, and actually runs the whole show when I'm gone, and usually does it while I'm there. But our employees were working 20-hour days for 3 weeks straight, and then we kind of rotated who was going to do what after that. But that's how dedicated our community was, our staff, our people. And these are people that for the last 3 years we didn't give a raise. And to ask them and come in and work that many hours, actually literally sleeping at their desk if they got a 10-minute nap, and that's how brutal this was on us. We were never expected what we did get. But to go through, before we get into the slides and where we're going from here, I say it's a 5-year plan. First thing was the evacuations, to make sure everybody was moved out of harm's way, and we did that very, very well with the help of state services, the DEC, the DOT, neighbor and fire departments like the Keysville Swift Water Rescue Team. I witnessed firsthand people putting, I get emotional about this, and I'm sorry about that, but I witnessed firsthand because I was there to watch our people risk their own lives to get people out of harm's way, and it was an unbelievable sight that just won't ever go away. And it's I was watching The Voice last night, and I saw one of the participants was hit from Katrina in New Orleans, and she said she just can't wipe that out of her mind. And I know that Bill and I have talked about this a lot. I can't get it out of my mind. It's something that's there to see what our people went through. I will tell you this, as a community, we're better off than we were a year ago, because I can tell you that the things that mattered, where your dog's barking or it's going to the bathroom on my land, or there's a fence there and that's my point where my land is, all that went away. Nobody cares anymore. It was neighbor helping neighbor to make sure that everybody's needs were met. I saw people that hadn't talked to each other in 25 years shoveling mud out of their basements together. And so something good is going to come out of this. It's a 5-year plan. It was emergency evacuations. It was to meet immediate needs. Filling in roads with whatever just to make them passable, make sure our water and sewer infrastructure, for 6 months we had water provided to 2 counties, Clinton and Essex County, and the town of Jay, Blackbrook, on a fire hose, 650 water residents. That was trying. Our main water line through the Alsable River, underneath the river, burst in the river. We had the Army Corps of Engineers there. It took us months to finally figure out a plan to make this work, trying on our people. Those are the things that we had to deal with immediately. Now it's long-term planning, and then as we go along with the slides, we'll get into it. But it's the culverts, making sure they're big enough to hold that amount of water. Our bridges, Tony's here. We're working on a bridge now on Rolling Mill Hill that was called the Grove section. It's a proven fact that abutments last longer. They cost longer to build. Cost more to build if they're out on the shoreline, but if they're in the river, the abutment, they wear away. They get eventually the water's going to wear them away. So it costs more immediately to fix these things for long term, but it's the way that things are done. We're learning as we go along. Financially, we're $3 million in debt. We've recouped, you know, with the help of Susan, we've recouped a lot of that, like maybe 1.4 million, I think we're at, Susan, from the 3 million. You know, you talk about stress. You get 2% tax cap. You've got, we've realized that now we need to put more people on full time on our emergency services and the ambulance squad because of things that hit. We can't respond quick enough. So now that's going to cost us $115,000 just to do that, and our tax cap's $49,000. That's before I even look at anything else. So I mean, those are the things that we're up against financially, and I will tell you, it's been the most trying time in my life. I've been supervisor for 9 years, lived through a lot of floods, grew up on Main Street, saw my family's business get flooded numerous times, but never nothing like this. Yep, go right ahead.
She just had this on.
Okay, it's okay.
That was meant for you.
Okay, go right ahead.
I just want to add, it's very important that I think that events like this are held because it's time to share our stories. And as we go forward, you know, it's important to be friends with your neighboring town, your neighboring highway superintendents, because everybody will learn from this. And even just from the pictures, you know, that are out there, people will learn how to protect and what things to do. Again, I think we've addressed the residents living in harm's way. Unfortunately, with the stranglehold that the hamlet size area has on our little towns, you know, there's no room for us to expand. So that's where regulations need to be changed to allow us to move our hamlet sizes to get away from the rivers. We talked about emergency plans. Again, communication, it's important to be in communication with our state and federal representatives.
I want to talk a little bit, we were talking about property acquisitions and buyouts. In Essex County right now, we've been approved, it's not officially announced, but we've been approved for $3.2 million of property acquisitions. Okay, to be entitled to a property acquisition, you have to be in a 100-year floodplain, you have to be over 50% damage, and you have to have multiple events that happen. Now, that's a problem because not only are you have the stranglehold of repairing everything that's been broken, and you're under the 2% tax cap, but now you're losing all this tax base. They're gone. So that's $3.2 million in Essex County alone, this tax base that's gone. So we highly encourage our people to stay in our area and get them out of harm's way. Talks about harm's way. I have a family right now that's building a home right next to the river on Intervale Avenue. Why, I don't know, but we need to look at those things. We need to have zoning in place, and I'm not a big zoning person, but this is something that's, you know, you can't build something there. Didn't you just see what happened? And now they're building in Intervale Avenue, just right next to the river. And I'm thinking, what would, in your right mind, would make you want to do that? And it's, you know, you want to encourage people to move into your town and build, but this is the problem. Those are something that we have to look at, that we have to have restrictions where people can build as we move forward.
Means we're done.
No, there it is.
I think it was meant for you.
That's right.